Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, Cesar Espino. Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, Cesar Espino, and today I have a special guest. He is the black belt leader, overcame bullying to earn 5 black belts and 3 martial arts Hall of Fame inductions. I'm happy to introduce Dr. John Terry. Hey, John, how are you today?
I am fantastic, sir. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you and your audience today.
Yeah, definitely. No, thank you. So definitely, I definitely want to learn about the fact that you were able to get those many belts and really be inducted to that. That's pretty awesome. Before we get there, though, tell me a little bit about your background and where you're originally from.
Well, I am an Army brat, preacher's kid, firstborn son. So I started out, as my mom says, with 3 strikes against me, but I still turned out okay. Dad was in the Army. I was born in Heidelberg, Germany. I was actually in Germany when the Berlin Wall was set up in 1961, and grew up in Arkansas here in the United States, and have spent most of my life living in Arkansas, but have had the opportunity to travel to different parts of the world to share leadership as well as my passion for the martial arts.
That's awesome. So tell me, like, growing up, how was that, being in different countries, or I'm sure you were moved around too, being an Army kid, right? How was that for you, your experience?
Well, I didn't really get to experience that, Caesar. I was when I was born in Germany, I spent the first 3 months there, and then Dad sent my mom home. And then shortly after that, he had the opportunity to re-enlist or get out. And he decided that at that point, he was done with the military, got out. So I spent most of my life living in Arkansas, although I've had the opportunity to travel quite extensively. I've been to Guatemala, been to the Caribbean, been to Africa, been to Europe, been to several different places throughout the world over the years. But that Army brat thing I didn't get to do, although I've got some good friends that have, and they've got some amazing stories that they've shared over the years.
Yeah, no, I bet. No, that's awesome. So tell me about your growing up in Arkansas. How was that? How was school, or even just getting accustomed to it? I believe that as we grow up, there's so many different things that we have to get adjusted to, right? Kids, teachers, and different things. So influences, for that matter, too. I know that depending on the area and where you're located, there can be a lot of influences, whether they're positive or negative, and sometimes people end up in different places. So how was that for you?
Yeah, growing up, I was a small kid, Caesar, and as a result of that, I was bullied quite a bit growing up. When you're the littlest kid in school, you either are the fastest kid in school, so you can outrun the bullies, or you get beat up. And I spent a lot of time getting really, really fast because it was the only way I could get away from the bullies at school. I was very smart growing up, and as a result of that, did very good academically, enjoyed sports, did well at sports. But I always had that issue of being the little guy and always being picked on as the little guy. And that really amplified when we moved from Fort Smith, Arkansas to Russellville, Arkansas, when I was about 13 years old. Dad kept telling me, son, we're going to get you out of the big city. You're not going to be bullied as much. You're going to have an opportunity to be in a small town, a smaller network of kids. Well, I was the new kid coming in. So guess what? I got picked on and bullied once again. And that's what led me into the world of martial arts.
Got you. So at what age did you kind of join or started doing martial arts?
I was 13 years old when we relocated. And after several days of coming home and telling Dad I wanted to move back to the big city because it was worse where I was, Dad said, I'll fix it. Well, Cesar, I thought he was going to go talk to the principal to have a talk with the boys. It's all good. No, Dad takes me downtown to this little hole in the wall dojo It's all adult men, 6'2", 6'4" and bigger. I'm 5'3", 5'4", 70 pounds soaking wet. And I'm thrown in with this room of 200-pound guys. And dad says, you're going to learn karate and then you can learn to defend yourself. And he walks off and leaves me in this room of grown men I'm thinking can snap me like a twig.
Wow. Yeah.
That was my experience initially to the world of martial arts.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's that's definitely an amazing story. So let me ask you this before we get into that. Like, I know, in your case, like growing up, it must have not been easy being bullied. And has any of that, have you seen that? Because I know I've talked to a couple of people, and I had somebody in the podcast many months ago, and was talking about bullying in the job. Like, because even as an adult, you can get bullied. Like, there's, it's not just in the school, and it starts there, definitely, right? As a kid. And a lot of times, it's, it could be probably playful or whatever the case may be. Nevertheless, sometimes those behaviors lead to, the workplace, right? And even in college and things like that. Have you experienced any of that or know of any of that? And not only experience that or know any of that, why do you feel that the bullying continues to trickle down all the way to even the adult years?
It's something I've learned over the years, Cesar, and I credit some of my mentors that I've worked with. And what I found, and clinical research has really supported that as well. Oftentimes, the people that are bullies themselves have been bullied. And as a result of that, they're looking for an opportunity because they've been oppressed by the bullying that they've gone through. Maybe it's an abusive parent. Maybe it's another bully at school. Maybe they're part of a gang or a group that they're the one that's picked on all the time. So they're looking for an opportunity to have some element of control and feel like they have an opportunity to be in charge of their own life for the moment. And I've learned over the years to recognize those traits in somebody when I see those. And when I see somebody lashing out in anger, I see somebody lashing out wanting to be confrontational, I learn to recognize that people aren't upset for the reason we think they are. And people aren't necessarily mad at me or trying to take something out on me. They're just dealing with other issues in their life. And I just happen to be in the right place at the right time to be the recipient of that. And I've learned to be able to recognize that, try to mediate through that, and help those people recognize that you don't have to be mean to people to have an opportunity to deal with your own issues.
Yeah. It comes to the idea of hurt people, right?
That's right. Hurting people hurt people. You're exactly right. Yes, sir.
Yeah, exactly. And they're not, they don't recognize that. So you started martial arts, and obviously it was a self defense mechanism, except I don't know a whole lot of that, although my grandkid is on some sort of similar sport. And I know a lot of it is not necessarily, I mean, definitely is for self defense, yet I think it goes beyond that and is more mindset control, as you said, be able to recognize there's a lot of discipline. So tell me more about that experience and how you got started and led to what you are now.
Sure. Well, I got started as I shared at 13. Dad threw me into this room of men, and I thought I'm going to die. And then I got introduced to this beautiful 24-year-old girl that had just joined the class the same time I did. She was going to be my partner. Well, she looked like she just walked out of a Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. And at 13, 14 years old, little heart's pounding. I thought, it's going to be great. Only to find out she was coming out of a bad relationship, and she wanted to learn to defend herself as well. So the standing joke at the house was Dad was paying good money for me to get beat up by a girl 3 days a week until I learned to fight like a girl, and then the bullying stopped.
Yeah.
But Cesar, what I learned was a number of things. In the martial arts, there's great self-defense. There's the opportunity to learn to compete and be involved in the sport aspect of martial arts. But the biggest thing I took away from that, as you said, are the character qualities, the discipline, the respect, the honor, the ability to learn that you can walk with confidence, knowing that you have the skill set, that in the event something happens, you are physically capable of defending yourself or those that you love in the moment. But at the same time, you become situationally aware of what's going on around you, and you see the world a little bit differently, so that if you sense danger coming up, the hair on the back of your neck stands up, or you sense something's not right, you learn to recognize that in advance. And one of the unsung stories of martial arts is you actually learn to recognize when you may be walking into a dangerous situation. So instead of going straight into that, you can take a left, you can take a right, or you can prepare yourself if there's no other way to go, knowing that there may be conflict that you have to deal with.
Yeah. Wow. No, I love that. And the thing that you mentioned with the idea of confidence, right? Just looking at that, I think that's one thing that even growing up and even right now with adult years, a lot of people lack that confidence, right?
They do. Yes.
And so I think you said it right. I think when you can find something, whether it's a sport or music or art, something that lifts you up and creates that confidence level that you are, I think, more than anything, worthy, or that you're valuable, or that you have something to contribute, whether it's to yourself or to society. That confidence level starts, lifting and rising for you, which is a huge. The other thing that I like that you mentioned is that situational awareness, right? And really being able to be aware. There's a couple of different, I guess, forms of awareness. Except being able to be aware of your situations, your surroundings, and reacting to that in a positive way, I think is huge from that. One of the things that I have here that you mentioned that I think is huge is you cannot achieve what you do not believe, right? And so elaborate a little bit more on that, because I think part of that comes down to, again, a lot of people have that self-doubt and or do not have the discipline and feel like you mentioned, may not even have the self-respect, or they feel like, well, no one's going to respect me, and so therefore I don't believe it, or I cannot do this, or I cannot do that, right?
Absolutely. Cesar, I was privileged in 2020 to write my fourth book. It's called Black Belt Leadership 101. And it's really a history of what I learned in the martial arts and how I applied that to life. It teaches the 10 essential character qualities of learning to be a black belt leader in life. And I think at the end of the day, if we could, all of us would want to be Chuck Norris or Bruce Lee or Jackie Chan at our chosen art, profession, or trade. But until we learn to believe in our ability, until we learn to believe there's a black belt leader inside of each and every one of us that's waiting to be discovered, developed, and deployed, we're never going to be able to accomplish and achieve our full potential in life. Henry Ford, who's famous for, creating Ford Motor Company, he was working with his manufacturers and trying to get his engineers to create that 8-cylinder block engine. And they kept saying, it can't be done. It can't be done. He kept saying, get it done. It can be done. But Henry Ford had a saying. He said, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. And it all goes back to belief. If we doubt we can do something, or we don't believe we can do something, then we've already made up our mind, I can't. And one of my mentors has a saying that I love. He says, it's not that you can't, it's that you won't. And that choice is yours. And that is a powerful statement, because it's not that we can't do things. It's that we choose not to do those things because we don't believe we can. And as a result of that, we never step into the greatness of who we can be.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. When we started to learn to ride a bicycle.
Yeah.
I remember when Dad got me a bicycle, it had training wheels on it. And I was even scared to get on the bike with training wheels because I didn't believe I could do it. And I got on the bike and I started pedaling. And then after a while, I got pretty good at riding with both training wheels, and Dad took a training wheel off. And I'm like, this isn't good. So I made sure when I was riding around the house on my bike, I always rode so I could lean in on that other training wheel. And then all of a sudden, my dad took that training wheel off. And we went out on the street where I'd been riding my bike. And Dad said, I'm going to walk alongside you. I just want you to pedal and get used to the balance of the bike. Well, I'm having a conversation with my dad as I'm pedaling the bike, and I look back and he's 4 blocks behind me. I realized in that moment I had done something I didn't believe I was capable of doing, because I allowed myself to step into that uncomfortable place where growth happens. And I found out I can ride a bike. Well, think about all the things that you and I have been able to learn to do, but it took getting out of that place of safety that wants to protect us and getting into that uncomfortable place where I've got to try something I've never done before. And we're never really good at it the first time. But if we keep working and scratching and learning, making mistakes and learning from the mistakes, guess what? You can earn 5 black belts. You can get inducted into 3 martial arts Hall of Fame. You can start the business of your dreams. You can be an actor. You can be a singer. You can be whatever it is you dream to be, but it starts with belief. And you cannot achieve what you do not believe.
Yeah, no, I definitely love that. And I think one of the things that come to mind right now as you saying those things, talking about being uncomfortable, right? And I do believe that sometimes we are so comfortable that we allow the fear of the unknown, or not, of not being comfortable, to step into our true potential and the opportunities that might be in front of us. And sometimes, again, the opportunities may not be shiny, and they might be disguised, and because of that, we don't see that opportunity, and therefore we don't take that step, right? We don't take the leap of faith, or we don't attempt to do something to help us move forward. And then alongside with that, the idea of saying, well, how can I step outside of what I know to be true into something that maybe it's unknown and maybe can give me that opportunity. We're so used to talking ourselves out of something, right? And so the idea of talking about a bike, right? You didn't think you could, and therefore maybe sometimes you just said, you know what, nope, I'm not gonna do it. Or sometimes you get in the swimming pool and you're kind of drowning. I'm like, oh, I now have that fear, and so I don't want to get into that, or whatever that might be, whatever that emotion might be. That sometimes we decide to say nope because of that one experience, or what took place, or because I fell at it once or twice or three times, I'm done trying or attempting to do it. Then you don't do it. Except the thing that I would challenge a lot of people is that when you take it and when you actually follow through and you do it, you gotta relax and ask yourself, if I was making this thing so hard and I didn't want to do it, yet I did it, what else in my life am I making it hard up here in the mind, that I'm not giving myself the opportunity to take that leap, right? And one of the things that I do a lot of self-development too. And so one of the exercises that we do is, a lot of people is eating fire, and a lot of people are afraid of eating fire, putting that torch in their mouth, that flame in their mouth. And some people are terrified of doing that. Except again, when they go through the exercise and they finally make it and they do it after so many attempts, I ask them that question. If you were making that so hard because of the flame, because of whatever was going on through your head, what else in your life are you creating this negative connotations, and what else in your life are you putting up this wall and saying, you know what, I cannot do it, when in reality you could, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I do something similar with board breaking. When
right.
I'm doing a lot of personal growth and development. And I've done a lot of women's self-defense classes over the years. My first Hall of Fame induction was for 10 years of work in schools teaching predator awareness, predator safety, and rape and assault prevention. And oftentimes with women, teaching them how to break a board and seeing that they can be powerful is a huge release for them. But, when you were talking about, dealing with issues that we're uncomfortable with, my mind went back to a conversation I had a couple of years ago with Carly Fiorina. She was the CEO of Hewlett Packard, ran for president, first female CEO of that company. She made a statement in her book, Find Your Way, I think is very powerful. And that statement is this. She said, the status quo has great power, but leaders challenge the status quo to change things for the better. And if we're going to lead ourselves, and guess what? You and I, every day, we're leading ourselves. We may not be leading other people at the moment, but we're leading ourselves somewhere. And if we allow the status quo just to say, I'm comfortable where I am, I'm going to just be like a turtle and crawl in the shell and close it up, and I'm just going to stay here and be safe, we never have an opportunity to develop our full potential. It's like the baby that you set on the floor and you never allow to crawl, you never allow to stand up. That baby's never going to learn to walk. It's through the trial and error and effort of repeating and learning from our mistakes that we discover that we're capable of saying, doing, and becoming so much more. So I love the idea of the flame eating. That's a brilliant idea. Good for you for doing that.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you. So can you share a little bit of the 10 traits that you talked about in your Black Belt Leadership 101 book?
Absolutely. I'll walk you through them very quickly. It's an acronym. So we take the word black belt. B is belief. You got to believe in yourself first. The L is learn. You've got to learn what you're capable of doing. And once you decide what it is you're going to do, you've got to focus on learning everything you can about that subject. The A is accountability. You've got to be accountable to yourself. You've got to be accountable to those that are counting on you. And you've got to be accountable to the dream that you've been given. The C is communication. You've got to learn to be able to effectively communicate what it is that you are going to do in life, and be able to let other people know, this is my calling, this is my passion, and be able to clearly communicate that so people can understand. The K is kinetic. That means we're people of action. You can't be a leader and sit on the bench. You got to get off the bench, get in the game if you're going to score a touchdown. And the next B in black belt is boldness. You've got to be bold in what you do. You can't hide behind mom's skirt and expect to have an opportunity to be recognized. You got to put yourself out there. The E is equipping. Part of being a leader, once you've learned who you are and you've developed your talent, you've got to be willing to equip other people, because the role of a leader is to empower the people and train the people and equip the people that will one day take your place. The L is loyalty, because when you begin to lead, others begin to follow, and you do the things you've done up to this point, you begin to build loyalty, that your followers trust you, they believe in you, they're willing to go to the mat with you because you've demonstrated that you care about them, you value them, and you are equipping and preparing them to one day take your place. When you do those things, the last T in black belt is transformation. You begin to see a transformation in your life as that black belt leader that you've been developing and you've been getting ready to release to the world now begins to show up, and you become a black belt master at your chosen art, profession, trade, or calling. And then the very last of those character qualities is the concept of mushin. Now, in martial arts, mushin means no mind. It means if somebody throws a punch at me, I don't have to stop and think, well, what do I do if somebody throws a punch? I've trained my body to the point that I can react without thinking. And the same is true with leadership. If you have to ask, what does a leader do in this situation? You haven't internalized it yet. But when you internalize it and you begin to live that out on a daily basis, you no longer have to think, well, what would a leader say or do? You automatically do it, because at that point, that has become who you are. When you get to the point of mushin, you have literally transformed your life to the point that you walk, talk, live, and breathe the black belt leader that you are, and you've stepped into the greatness of who you are, what you can become, and you're truly that world-class master of yourself, your art, your profession, your trade, or your calling.
Wow, Dr. John, I got to tell you, this is amazing. I definitely love that. And just looking at that entire list of things that they're all different attributes and different, I guess, steps into this process, right? Is huge. What would you say, like somebody that wanted to kind of step into something like this? I mean, to me, I kind of see this as a ongoing learning experience.
It is.
I do believe that, yeah, you might master all this at one point, except, just like life, I think that we're a school of life, right? And so you reach a point, and now you want to get to a different place. Now we kind of got to go back to the same steps per se. Maybe not all of them, except we got to go back to it and start applying that again and creating that discipline. Am I right on that?
You're exactly right. One of my mentors is Dr. John Maxwell. And Dr. John Maxwell says that for a leader, the journey never ends, that we are on a perpetual journey of learning and becoming a better version of who we are and what we do every single day. Most people think when they earn a black belt, they've arrived. Well, in traditional martial arts, an instructor only gave you a black belt when you demonstrated that you were a serious student that was committed to a lifetime of learning. And only then did they really begin to teach you the in-depth things of what you needed to know to be a martial artist. The same is true in life.
Yeah.
There is no finish line. Ray Kroc said it well, as long as you're green, you're growing. But once you're ripe, you start to rot.
Right.
Nobody wants to be a rotten leader, but when we quit learning and growing, we can become rotten real quick.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's one of these that's most critical than the other, or they're all equally about the same weight? Would you need to focus more time on one than the other, or they're all about the same?
Cesar, I'm asked that question often. I believe they're all valuable, but if you don't get the first one right, if you don't believe and you don't get rid of those limiting beliefs that are holding you back, you can't move on to the second, third, fourth, and those additional 9 steps. So if I were to say which one is the most important, and I talk about it in my book, I talk about it when I speak, I talk about it in the online courses I offer around black belt leadership, that until you get rid of that limiting belief that's holding you back, it's like an anchor that holds a ship in the harbor. Or it's like, if you remember the old chain gangs, when they would chain people together so they couldn't move, it's like you're trapped in one place and you can't move forward. So to me, the belief is number one, because you can't achieve what you don't believe.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. Now that I think about it, I one of the things that I tell people is like I can teach you whatever. It doesn't matter what you want. You know, if you want to learn real estate, if you want to learn become a coach, you want to do whatever. Even when you go to school, right? If you want to learn any topic, anyone can teach you that. Except again, I my thought process is that if you don't believe in yourself, it doesn't matter what I tell you. Sooner or later, you're gonna crack and you're not gonna follow through, right? There's
That's
an
right.
African proverb that I really like, and I might butcher a little bit, except it talks about if there's no enemy within, there's no enemy outside that can do you no harm, right?
Mhm.
And so, kind of going back to that idea, the biggest battle or the biggest war taking place anywhere in the world, including this moment right now, I believe, is what's inside going through your
That's right.
head.
Yeah, it's right here. It's in the
Yeah,
head. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah, and so
Yeah, my mom told me growing up, she said, you can choose to be a winner, you can choose to be a loser, but you get to make the choice.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely believe that's the huge one. The other one that kind of resonates with me is communication. And I think that's one of the big ones um, in this list. Definitely, all of them are great. Except I want to spend a little bit of time on communication because I believe that we're wired in a particular way that when we communicate, there's three forms that we communicate. There's the words that we use, which is about 7% of our total communication. There's our tonality, which is about 33% of our communication. And then there's our physiology, which is about 60% of our total communication. And one of the things that people ask me is like, well, if words are only 7% of our total communication, they must not be that important. And I say, on the contrary, they are. And because it's only 7%, we have to be more conscious and cautious as to the words that we use and we choose to portray to other people, and even more so to ourselves. Like when we get up, instead of saying, "Oh crap, I'm tired, I have a bad day," whatever the case may be, like I'm not looking for today. Oh, I got to go to that meeting. That the negative self-talk, without even realizing, we are programming our unconscious mind with negative thoughts, and therefore we're creating a negative connotation in ourselves. So we got to be very careful with that, which also leads to, I believe, a lot of times that when we're looking at the words that we use, also comes down to the things that we watch, things that we listen, because then
Mhm.
all of that we internalize that and then we kind of put it out into the universe, right? So I believe that's another one that's huge in terms of that. So yeah,
Yeah, I agree with that. Words have creative power.
yeah,
And we're either creating a positive world around us by the words we speak around ourselves and over ourselves, or if we have that negative self talk, well, I can't do this, I can't do that, I'm just stupid, I'm just ignorant. Well, what you speak, the mind believes to be true. And once the mind believes that to be true, there's an interesting device in the back of our brain called the reticular activating system, and it acts like a filter. And when you begin to tell yourself all these negative self talk things, guess what? The reticular activating system at that point kicks in and says, I'm going to filter any other message that's contrary to that because I don't want to disrupt equilibrium in the brain. So the more you practice negative self-talk, the more it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because the subconscious part of the brain says, oh, this is truth. Then I want to make sure in every situation I can manipulate how you act and think and do. I want to make that happen in your life. So the more we can be positive and have those positive affirmations, we can train our brains to see and seize opportunity rather than see the obstacles that are in front of us that are really opportunities waiting for us to go conquer. And it's just another mountain to climb.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So tell me about the things that you're doing right now with your black belt. You say you speak, you coach people. Tell me about the services that you offer other people to kind of indulge into this kind of lifestyle.
Absolutely. You know, Cesar, I'm spending a lot of time right now working with organizations because one of the biggest things I found is there's far too many businesses today that aren't investing in the greatest asset they have, and that's the people that work for them. The individuals that walk in that business every single day are the physical manifestation of that business owner's dream for success. And if they are not equipped and trained to properly serve their audience at the highest level, they miss the opportunity to really create an exceptional experience that allows that business to be recognized as world class. And so I'm working in that area there with the business owners. And then I'm still doing a lot of work in the martial arts community, helping martial arts school owners and instructors that are in front of students every day, teach them to be more than a black belt. Teaching them to punch, kick, do self-defense, win trophies is great. But if they leave your school and they don't know how to lead themselves, they don't know how to lead others, they don't know how to make good choices, and they're not men and women of good character and qualities that can walk into any business organization and make a difference, I don't believe we really made a black belt. And so those are the two key areas I'm really focusing on. I do a lot of work internationally. I work with some different groups in Zambia, in Cameroon. I've got a couple of invitations to India next year to go travel and speak. So doing quite a bit of that right now, and love the opportunity to speak, coach, and train. It's something I've done now going into my 4th decade. So been at this a while.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So tell me, where can people find you and connect with you if they want to learn more about your stuff and even probably get your books?
Absolutely. The best place to find me and connect with me for anything and everything is beablackbeltleader.com. That's beablackbeltleader.com. At the website, they can access my newsletter, my podcast. They can connect me with all my social media channels. They can access the store to buy all of my books or courses. All that's available at beablackbeltleader.com.
Awesome. I love that. I love that. So you definitely given us a lot of great tips, and I want to get a couple other things, a couple other golden nuggets from you. Definitely, I'm sure you have a lot of disciplines, and you have a lot of Tony Robbins refers them as rituals. So I will say habits, daily habits. Tell me some of the habits that you have on a day-to-day basis to kind of keep you in this positive state of mind and help you move forward.
Absolutely. You know, Cesar, one of the things that I learned years ago is the most successful people in the world do a concept I call bookending your day. And every morning they get up and they read for 20 to 30 minutes. They then sit down and they think into what they just read from something that's inspirational, educational, or they're learning from the knowledge and wisdom of someone that's sharing their life story. Then how do they apply that to what they're going to do today? They then prioritize their day and identify the most 3 important things they need to do, and then they go out and live their day. At the end of the day, they come back and do the same thing. They read for 20 to 30 minutes. They journal, but this time they journal about what did I win, where did I lose, and what did I learn from both. Then they go back and then they add comments on what they just read, how they're going to apply that the next day. They make a list of all the things they need to do tomorrow so their brain can sort it while they're sleeping, and they go to bed. So I go through a very similar ritual to that every day. I read in the morning, I journal in the morning, I prioritize my day so I know what has to be done. And then at the end of the day, I read, I reflect on what I've learned and what I experienced that day and how that's made me a better person. And then I think into what can I do tomorrow to be 1% better than I was today. And if I can be 1% better every single day, I'm on this journey of continual, perpetual personal growth and development, making a difference in the world.
I love that. How critical do you think it is for us to induct, create, whether it's a very minimal type of this daily discipline or habit, or a couple of them? How critical do you think that is for our personal growth and for us to actually do it? Because I know that a lot of times, people that especially that are in their 9-to-5 jobs or things like that, sometimes, sometimes that might get in the way and say, well, I don't have enough time. Or I remember when I used to work my 9-to-5, I'll work 12 hours, come home, I was super tired and just kind of lay on the couch. The next morning, I just get up, get ready and go to work. Right. And so I never really had that daily habits or rituals. Now I do, except back in the day I didn't. From your perspective, how critical is it for people to actually make it a habit of creating something for themselves?
It's a necessity. It's just like breathing, eating, drinking. It's a necessity. I hear all the time from people say, I don't have enough time. Well, here's what I can tell you. God gave every one of us 24 hours in a day. You don't have 25 and I don't have 23. We both have 24. Yeah. It's what we do with the time we've been given that says what our priorities are. And if we make it a priority to say, I'm going to commit, even if it's 5 minutes, to personal growth and development every day, we make that a ritual. It is a must do. It's a big rock we've got to move every day. Because if we don't do that, we stay stuck where we are, as we are, and nothing changes in our life.
I definitely love that. That's awesome. My last question for you is for the people that are watching us and listening to us, if they're going through any challenge, whatever challenge that might be, what is one thing they can start doing now to start overcoming that challenge?
That's a great question. I would say this. You've got to believe there's a black belt leader within you, and you have to waiting to be discovered, developed, and deployed. We're all leading somebody somewhere, even if the only person we're leading is ourselves. The question we have to answer every day is, how well am I leading me? Because I can't lead other people any better than I'm leading myself. So every day when you get up, I think you've got to say, I am capable of saying, doing, and becoming more. And I'm going to take one step towards discovering that today.
I love that. I love that. Wow. No, that's amazing. Dr. John, again, thank you so much for being here. I think definitely there's so much value of everything you have shared with us. So I really appreciate you being here. Anything else you might want to say before I let you go?
Cesar, it's been a privilege to share with you. And I would just encourage your readers to pick up a copy of my book. There's some great insights in there, and it's how you learn to become a black belt leader in life. So that would be the one thing I would say. If you're looking for a place to start and something to read, it's a great read.
Awesome. I love it. Well, thank you again, Dr. John. And for the rest of you guys, thank you so much for being here at this episode. Please do me a favor, share this because somebody definitely needs to hear this message. And I'll see you guys at the next episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cesar Espino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.CesarRespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. And know you truly can overcome anything.